G'day everyone and welcome back to Nat's Knacker's Yard. Hello dog. I had a brain fart last night when I was thinking about the next stage on this Thundercat tank. My brain fart was, where I've been clever, I've made life difficult. So where I've got the join between the two patterns, and it's darkened off quite nicely in those, and where I put the decals on to get them under the lacquer, which is frankly where they should be, you get a fair amount of relief. So, you know, a lip, which you're always going to get because there is more paint on the blue bit than there is on the black bit. Now my concern was if I went straight on with the 2K clear, chucked it all on, not a drama, nice and thick, when I come to rub it down I was concerned about rubbing that edge, and under that blue is silver and it would really show, and there's still a danger of that. But what I thought was, what I need to do is try and build it up a little bit. So my solution is my Cam Brush Classic, gone for clear. So I use clear as a lacquer on bodywork, in fact on panels, rather than Halford's lacquer, which is just thin and crap. This stuff's actually quite thick. It goes on quite thick like the rest of their paint, because it is fundamentally paint. It's not a lacquer. It's the same stuff as the paint. So I thought if I try and build it up a little bit, so I've gone for, you know, best side of a can, and frankly I'll probably try and squeeze that last bit on as well, just to build it up a little bit before I get on to my 2K clear. So it's nice and thick, and don't get me wrong, it's orange peel tastic, but there's nothing that polishing can't fix within that. But actually on top of, you can see it just as the light hits, just where you see the reflection of the sun on the top of the A in Yamaha, you're just starting to cover it up a little bit, which is nice, which is turbo nice. So yeah, I'm going to bang on the rest of this, and then we're going to break out the 2K clear, and I will show you that. I did this off camera because it's just, you know, it's more of the same. It's spraying a rattle can, you know. There's only a certain amount of variety, or a certain degree of variety you can get with that. Yeah, so I'm going to keep this warm because it's chilled off, bang on the remnants of it, and it's just really, obviously I'm not concentrating on the edges, that's how you get runs, but it's just really to build up the layers a little bit so that as I rub them down later I shouldn't create quite such a problem for myself. Don't get me wrong, I still think I'm going to have an issue with it, but we will have to see how it goes. Right, see you in a sec. Right, with the builders in the background, I swear that building's had so many builders on it over the last year, and I think I've picked up Polish by proxy. 2K clear, this is the stuff that I use, so it's Pro XL 2K clear. I have tried many others, I mentioned it on the bike, I've tried many others, and I think this is just the best stuff. So by 2K, it's two parts, so it's paint and hardener. He says with absolutely no technical knowledge at all, but what I do know is that it is really strong stuff, and it polishes up beautifully. So high gloss finish, extremely scratch and petrol resistant. After 24 hours can be mechanically polished and gives a very tough two-part something finish. It's good stuff. So it is, pull out the pin at the bottom. It even includes a little pin puller at the bottom. Mix them together and shake a lot. Now, one of the bits I like, I don't know if I can get this lid off with one finger. No, I can't. You can see it in there. One of the bits I like, and I'll show you in a bit more detail later, there is an adjustment for the fan direction, because it does spray very much like a spray can, so it's either horizontal or vertical, and it also has a fan outlet, so how much paint's coming, how much lacquer's coming out on a spray. A little bit gimmicky, but it does claim to be where is it? Spray gun finish. It sprays very much. Now I've actually got some experience of a spray gun. It sprays very much like a spray gun, and you'll see it when I get going. Now I'm minus one kid who's at a drama club. Mrs is plugged into some online course that she's doing. The sausage is in the oven, so I'm going to stick that in the warm, in nice warm warm water, get it warming up nicely, sort out some food for the remaining kids and the missus and myself, and then get going on this. Cool. Right, so that's the kids all set up in bed. Mrs fed, bumped into Seb, the builder next door. My lazy racial stereotyping or racial profiling. He and all his team are Romanian, not Polish. He's a good lad. I've got my mic on, so the sound should be better. My paint is good to go, and it's lovely and warm. It's been soaking for a while to the point that the label invariably comes off. I'm a bit blasé about health and safety in my garden. When I'm spraying, I don't tend to wear a mask. I do when I'm doing this sort of stuff. It's just a bit nasty because it's got the hardener in it. Don't get me wrong, it's nothing like, allegedly it used to be. You get lots of people saying about, oh, you should be showing people to use 2K clear, you know, it's got to be used by professionals, etc, etc. It's not what it used to be. So, you know, look at nitromors today as to how it was years ago. The chemicals have changed in it due to health and safety legislations, if nothing else. Right, I might need a screwdriver to get this bugger. Oh, I didn't. Stronger than I thought. Right, so as I said before about the nozzles, so I've got the horizontal vertical nozzle and a fan, you know, plus and a minus. So I'm going to stick it in the middle and see how I start. Get myself done up and get a dust coat on this bad boy, shall we? Oh. Just doing the quick Darth Vader. I have given this a tap cloth off, but I'm outside, so there is stuff floating around, and it'll land on it, and I'll have to polish it out. But you know, that's what you get for painting in a garden. Right, do a quick dust, and you can see the fanning of this is just so much better than an aerosol. It is an aerosol than a bog standard aerosol. Just the coverage is amazing. It does mean that you need to be a little bit careful that you don't get carried away and try and bang a load on in a go, because it will run. And being 2K, it's actually relatively hard to sand down, harder than lacquer, because weirdly enough, the deposit on there is harder than it is with lacquer. So, I'm going to go nice and light. I do a good Darth Vader in this. I am your father. Right, nice and light, nice and gentle. That'll do for pass one. I'm going to chuck this back in the water to keep it nice and warm. Let that dry off a bit. And crack on. Right, dust number 2. So I'm keeping a fair distance away, fast hands. I'm not going for chasing a wet line or anything like that yet. I can see a fair amount of shite stuck to the tank, but that'll rub down. And basically, I've got no more nibs than old Dell got in her paint booth. Although, to be fair, he was sanding in his like a fucking idiot. Right, I'll do another dust. Still plenty in the can. Give it a few minutes and re-attack. Right, let's go for dust 3. Still nice and light. Just trying to get a bit of a build up. Just going to concentrate on the edges a bit more now. I'm a bit blasé about them.
Isn't it weird? I was just talking to Seb, who kind of flicks when he's talking with his workmates between two languages, well, at least two, and how some being blasé on the edges and laissez-faire with health and safety in your garden. It's weird how we use French words to describe sort of something that's quite flamboyant. Isn't that weird? Still not my favourite word. My favourite word by a country mile is Schadenfreude. So, in fact, yeah, Sesame Street-esque. I'll put it on the screen. Schadenfreude. The word for today, children, is Schadenfreude. And there's no direct English translation. It just means taking joy in the misfortune of others, or words to that effect. So, somebody falls over and you laugh at them. That is Schadenfreude. And I think it's just brilliant. And of all nations to come up with a word for that, you wouldn't pick the Germans, who are fairly stoic by nature. Right, so I think that's the last dust. And I have got crap floating around on the tank, but there is absolutely no point in me trying to dig it out because it will make it worse. I'll polish it out, it will be fine, gov. And that's starting to come together already. Right, be wet next. Right, and we're back. Bit of a dry time. Bit more shit falling on the tank, but it'll rub off. Let's go. Edges again. And then we'll start doing the wet coats. So, more of an overlap, slightly slower arm, trying to chase that tide up the surface. Tide, let me see if I can show you what I mean. Bit of dodgy camera work, I do apologise. Camera's set up to be on a slope, I'm not on a slope anymore. That's pretty horrendous. But it might show what I'm after. Well, in fact, probably easier to hold you. Right, so by tide, what do I mean? See a wet line. And you're following it up the surface. It's really difficult to film, and hopefully I caught some of that. I have tried strapping a camera to my wrist and doing it, but all I managed to do was get everyone seasick. But yeah, that's what I mean. So it's chasing that line up the surface. And a slightly slower arm, because you're encouraging more paint to hit the surface. Encouraging, allowing. It sounds very zen. I've just realised my ball's dropped. Where's that gone? Never mind. A little bit of paint in there, won't mind. It's a bit gusty. I think it's blown out. Hopefully not rubbing too much on paint on the way down. Right, and ladies and jelly spoons, we're starting to get there. We are starting to get there. Starting to look a little bit more robust. Awesome, right. Another wet in a few minutes.
Back after a bit of family induced delay, and this one. I've had to move the whole thing because my stand is now a little bit shaky because it blew pretty much. A big gust of wind came and blew pretty much everything away,
including my mount and my camera. Fortunately I'm doing it on grass, so it had a soft landing, although it's now half covered in mud. And it emptied the contents of a tree pretty much onto my paint. So I'm going to have a fair amount of rubbing down to do to get rid of it, but that's what you get for spraying outside. I am going to buy a spray tent, I've decided. Yeah. Really annoying. Oh well. Right, that's another coat done. Let that dry and really just keep going until this is all gone.
And there we go, that's as good as I'm going to get in this weather. So that is the best side. Well, that's the full can of Pro XL on there. By the full can, I always, how do you explain this? Using all of it is a false economy. The second it starts to splutter, stop. Don't try and squeeze any more out, don't try and give it, I'll give it another couple of shakes. Just stop, because you've put a lot of layers on there, nice and flat, and then you're just going to chuck splutter on the top. So it's kind of knowing when to stop type thing. The weather's been horrendous. I do have some bits in it, I'm not quite sure how much you're going to see. I think the camera is more flattering than the eye. I've immortalised one small bug on there, but they'll polish off, I'm sure. No, I'm chuffed with that, Now, it's a case of me trying to hold back my enthusiasm. There you go, hold back my enthusiasm of trying to touch it. Although I am going to move it. I don't like moving like paint, but I've had to move this quite a lot because it's so windy, there's so much shite in the air. I've just been tucking it away in a little bit of a shade. Not in the house because it stinks. What it has made me think, I did these last night. These are the bar ends. Which are fucking heavy actually. I've not come across quite such heavy. And again, colour's not out. You get a slightly better view of the colour there. That is just rubbed down, cleaned, black, and then I just chucked the candy coat on the top over the black, really to see what it would do. And it's kind of gone like a deep, kind of mauvey type colour. And actually, if you look at the sort of three colours next to each other, looks quite good. So what I'm thinking is, on the middle section of the bike, and again I'll stick up a picture again because it makes it easier to explain. So looking at the front fairing, the top that's black is going to stay black because there's nothing wrong with it. The grey is going to be this colour with the effect in it as well, which is starting to come through a little bit more now. It's been glossed, but it'll come through more when it's been rubbed down. The bottom section, i.e. the bit that's orange, I'm probably going to go for this. Now I was going to go for all silver and then the candy on the top, which would just make it really light, and I'm slightly concerned that that's going to be too light, so it's going to go dark at the top, middle at the bottom, middle colour in the middle, and then really light at the bottom. So I think what I'm going to do is do it black to start with and then go over it with the candy coat to get this kind of mottled blue effect. It also has the added advantage that is, will be primer, black coat, a fair amount of candy to get it the dark enough colour, and lacquer on top. That's nice thick paint. And if you remember all the way back when I was out on the bike on one of the videos, my concern is that when I'm stood with both feet down, I do rest the leg against that fairing. So it's going to need to be thick paint, because otherwise I'm just going to rub through anything thin and shitty. Right, that'll do for another one. just got to hold off this and let it cure and dry, which I may well have a go at rubbing down tomorrow evening, assuming I get my chores out of the way. And by chores, one of my most satisfying Saturday views is this picture I'll put down in the corner, which is 15 t-shirts or 15 school shirts. For anybody that's thinking of having children, just remember you're going to have to iron their uniform every day. 3 kids is 15 sets of uniform. It mounts up quickly. Right, thanks all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I hope you're enjoying this little journey. I think what we're proving is that, you know, by pissing around with really basic tools in about as basic a setting as you can get, i.e. the open air in February, you can get some pretty good results. And even more so when I get to rub this down a bit and see what we end up with as a result. Right, cheers all. I'll catch you later. Ta-da.